Do I have to hit go live?
Purpose. No one can create your purpose for you. No one can tell you who to be. So in purpose, you have to create your own purpose. And in evolution, you have to evolve towards that purpose. It's easier to live when you have goals to meet. You understand? If you have goals to meet, then you don't feel so voided, and you understand why every day you're looking at this person in the mirror, because that is the cool part about the game. You get to be anybody you want to be.
All right, welcome. You guys are tuned into another Monday night super panel. We're here early. This is our new permanent hour at 8 o'clock Central Standard, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Welcome to the Power of Ownership podcast. I'm your host, Brandon B. Dixon. We have a distinguished guest on the panel as well, Richard Giraldez. Did I pronounce that right?
You did.
All right, appreciate it. My pronunciation is getting a little bit better here. So I'm gonna have my guests introduce themselves. Then I'll introduce myself, and let my co-hosts introduce themselves as well. So Richard, as the guest, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Sure. What I do is I work to help businesses, small businesses in particular, to significantly reduce expenses and to bring in extra revenue. I work a variety of different industries, but my main focus right now is I recently launched a grant services business looking to disrupt the grant industry by making high-level professional grant writing available to small businesses at a fraction of the cost of what traditional grant firms charge.
Gotcha. And they can find you at your website here?
My personal brand website, richardgiraldez.com, has all of the businesses that I do.
Gotcha. And they could reach out to you via call or text as well?
They can reach out to me directly at 833-379-9727. That's awesome. My direct line.
Awesome. Well, we welcome you to the panel. Let's get the introductions out the way real quickly. My name is Brandon B. Dixon. My NMLS is 1541210. It's at Billionaire Loan also on all social media. You can go to my website as well, applywithb.com, where you can book me for a consultation, or you could apply for a mortgage right then and there. You can contact me 832-753-5541. You can call me 24/7. Also, www.brandonbdixon.com if you want to get with me on a real estate tip, whether it's real estate investing, you want to lease, you want to list, so on and so forth. HoustonCondoSales.com is up and running now, so if you want to get one of those high-rise condos, it's probably going to be my next thing I own. I'm seriously thinking about it. I don't know if it's going to be in the United States, though, but we'll go from there. And then last but not least, if you want to catch all the back episodes of the podcast, go to thepowerofownership.org. We have all of the previous episodes on that website. So who's next? Anthony, I think I got you next.
All right. Happy to be here. My name is Anthony, aka the Mortgage Prepper. Not like a survivalist, more like a strategist, right? Someone that's going to pay attention and understand the playing field before they even step foot onto it. And what I do is I help empower people to secure their own legacies through prepared home ownership. You can find me at themortgageprepper.com. You can also find me at The Mortgage Prepper on all socials. You can reach out and call or text at 919-336-0099. And super excited to be here. We have an excellent episode for you guys tonight.
Gotcha. And David, I got you. Well, you got your own banners.
I do. I can click. Yeah. Okay. So my name is David Youngs. My license number is 328679, one of the first issued. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, North Dakota, Arizona, Florida, and Tennessee are my 7 state licenses. However, all of us here at Nexa, including Anthony and Brandon, my co-hosts, have licensing across the nation available to us to assist with any needs that you have nationwide. If you want to follow me online directly, my YouTube handle is Infinite Home Team. YouTube is probably one of the best places to find me. However, you'll find me across the internet in any other social media platform with that same handle, Infinite Home Team, or you'll find me also infinitehometeam.com or davidyoungs.com are my websites. Some videos about me, downloadable info, helpful graphics, calculators, all kinds of fun stuff there. If you want to schedule a conversation with me directly for anything at all, which includes that QR code link at the top there, davidyoungscalendar.com will get you to my calendar. If you don't want to remember any of this, go to this one site here, .cards/Youngs. Download everything into your phone in one shot, and you'll have all my contact information there. And just to kind of blanket over again, between me, Brandon, and Anthony for my co-hosts here, Nexa Lending is the largest mortgage brokerage in the history of the country. We have over 300 lender options just in residential lending alone, not including commercial and business lending as well. So tons of programs, hundreds of programs, all at wholesale interest rate pricing, and also one of the best in the industry in wholesale because we're the largest. Think about buying at Costco. You save money if you buy in bulk. That's us. So if you have questions about anything mortgage or real estate related, reach out to any of us on the team. We'd be happy to help. And looking forward to the show. Also having Richard here as a guest and being able to talk through some business concepts as well on the show together.
Gotcha. So if this is your first time tuning into the Power of Ownership podcast, not only we talk about ownership of homes, businesses, intellectual property, so on and so forth, but we talk about the whole diaspora of ownership, what it encompasses the mind, body, and soul. So all the nuances we talk about. And this week I had a lot of the same concept come over and over. So I'm like, man, I need to do a whole show about this, and this happens a lot in our business, believe it or not, in the mortgage business, because we deal with a lot of different personalities. A lot of our counterparts, which are realtors, have a lot to say a lot of times. And the main thing I see is they always blame other people. Not always, but let me rephrase that. A lot of times when anything goes awry in a file, it's always the loan officer. Some kind of way it boils back down to us for some reason. I don't know. So I was like, and I had a chit chat with one of my referral partners this week, and we kind of got on philosophy. That's kind of my thing, and just unraveling his mind, it's a lot different, and I wanted to do a show about this. I hope he's watching. I hope he watches on the replay. I hope he's watching, but we're just a lot different as far as the way I think and the way I attack life. And let's get into this first clip. And the first thought, my first thought is blame may explain your pain, but it cannot build your future. The moment you say my fault, you stop surrendering your power and take it back. So instead of my thing, I would always just say as a kid, when you point the finger, you got 4 pointing back at you, right? So I think accountability, whatever, regardless of what it is always the best approach. Let's go ahead and run the clip and let's go ahead and start the discussion. So let me know when y'all can see the screen here. Here we go. Can y'all see the screen?
When I was younger,
Yes.
I was really angry at my parents, like many people are, right?
Yep.
Justified or not, doesn't really matter. I was very angry and I blamed them for the woes of my life. And I realized that when I was 19, that these people that I hated, I was giving all the power over the fact that I wasn't the person I wanted to be. And I was like, well, it's their fault. And the idea that I had actually given these people that I hated power over my success was ultimately something that made me feel sick to my stomach and was what allowed me to point the finger of blame inwards and say my fault you stay in poverty until you learn the first lesson of poverty.
Just wanted to make sure y'all hear the first part of that. For some reason it get cut off on the first part. So let me open it up to the panel. Is saying my fault an act of empowerment, or does it unfairly excuse the people who may have genuinely harmed you? So is this a part of a healing process, or do we need to just say my fault and move on?
I'll jump on this one first. I think both things can actually be true in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know from my particular family history is that, you know, we had to move around when we were younger a lot because of circumstances outside of our control, right? But here's the thing: the moment you decide to let those circumstances be the reason you can't build something, right, it's just now becoming permanent residency in my entire future, right? So I think both things can be true, but the moment you start letting it prevent moving forward and progress, that's when you start getting into trouble.
Gotcha. All right, David, you want to take care?
I'm actually glad, Anthony, I'm glad you said it that way, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, it's kind of both, and I wasn't sure how to phrase it. So I'm glad you started with that. I think it's absolutely right. Is saying my fault is an act of empowerment. Like you're taking responsibility for, I do have control over how I process this, how I interpret it, how I am going to handle it from here. It doesn't excuse the situation, the behavior necessarily. Like it's not like you're dismissing everything bad that happened in your life, because I mean, we all have different circumstances, and every single person on the planet, I'm going to say, has bad in their life in some way, shape, or form. So taking responsibility for yourself is important, but remembering that's not excusing the situation. So there's a balancing act in the mind and wrestling with this as a mental game, I think. That's just a struggle. And in this example, it was a parent, but it's not always a parent. It could be a sibling. It could be a spouse. It could be a friend. It could be a business partner. It could be anybody in your life that has genuinely done something to hurt you. And this is something that, to be quite honest, to this day, I still struggle with myself. I'm still working on like wrestling with this in my head of like, what am I responsible for and what am I not responsible for? And how do I process this? There's an art to this, and it takes a second, I think, to figure that out for everybody.
Gotcha. Richard, you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, this is something that I've worked on. I was brought up I'm Puerto Rican, brought up in Brooklyn, and we have a mentality, we take no shorts. If somebody, when I was younger, somebody does you wrong, you file that and you make sure that you square up with them. But what I've learned, and recently I came across a quote that you create and have created everything that is in your life. And that encompasses your spiritual life, your family, financial, your knowledge, your emotional, your personality. It includes everything. And you take 100% responsibility for everything that happens in your life without exception and without condition.
Right. I would piggyback off of that. And I say I kind of lean more toward Richard, what Richard's saying, because the question is juxtaposed to each other. That is it empowering or does it excuse it? It's definitely empowering, because no matter who harmed you, it's not about what they do to you, it's about how you react to it. It's the response. So if my response is to say, damn, you hit me back in 98 and it's 2026 and I'm still doing this for, when I got hit back in 1998, I've never moved on from it. It now dictates my action 30 years ago. From 30 years, I'm holding on to this. So with that being said, we used to, Anthony played football as well. when you played scared, that's when you got hurt.
Yeah.
Because when you play to your fullest capability, that's when you excel. You know, you don't put in your mind that, hey, I might get injured. You know, so you play to your fullest, and then that's when good things will happen. You envision it. That's what they used to call. They used to call it the zone back.
Yep.
Yeah. So you got in the zone when you replayed the game before you actually played the game in your mind, and you seen the positive outcome, and you don't play like, damn, I might get injured, or you play scared. That's when it actually happens to you. You know, so I don't think going full circle, let's go back to it. I don't think that constantly blaming somebody, you can play to your fullest capability, because you're constantly thinking about that situation. You know, so let me bridge it to this one right here. Let's go to the second clip. I think people get addicted to blaming, and I think it's because it's a dopamine hit that they get sympathy, and sympathy is a part of, you know, I guess part of attention. So more dangerous addiction may not be drugs or money, it may be sympathy. What happens when being the victim becomes more rewarding than becoming free? You know, so let's go and run the clip, and I'll tell you what I'll show you what I mean by that. Hold on a second. This always starts playing first. Wonder if there's a way I can fix this. All right, here we go.
Addicted to being victims, not because life is hard, but taking responsibility for the actions that they've taken is even harder. We've all been through something. We've all been hurt. We've all been disappointed. We've all had setbacks. But at some point, you have to decide. Do you continue to want sympathy from other people, or do you finally want to make it? I've met people that uses their past as fuel, and I've met other people that uses their past as an excuse. The hardest words that you might ever have to say to yourself is to say that I need to do better. Once you accept that, that's when things will start changing for you. You're going to stop making excuses. You're going to start taking control. Your past might explain where you currently are, but it does not decide where you're going to go in your future. This might upset some people.
I just wanted to make sure y'all caught the beginning. So let me open the question to the panel. How do we distinguish someone processing legitimate trauma from somebody building an identity around it? And who gets to decide when healing should become accountability? So where's the line?
David, you want to take this one first?
Can I? I just want to. I want to share. I want to be very careful with how I share this story.
Mm-hmm.
There are two people in my life I know, and by the way, this is not my wife. Just for anybody wondering, but two friends of mine that I know that had almost identical circumstances. Both women, both abused as children. One lives in her house and has never left. She is now, but both of these women now are in their retirement age. Never has left the house. Everybody, she's a victim. Everything is everyone else's problem. She has never been able to keep a job, never been able to get out and socialize. The entire world surrounds this. The other one that I know, it's almost identical. I mean, like, it's scary weird how, like, I learned about these two people that had the same circumstances, is socializing with everybody, enjoying life, loves life, friends across the board. Everybody loves this person. Same circumstances, completely different outcomes, completely different ways of viewing life. And I just, when I learned this and I realized the distinction between these two individuals, it just taught me a really strong lesson of, doesn't matter who you are and what you're going through, you have the power of ownership. You really do have the right to choose. What are you going to do with this? Life happens. What are you going to do? And I really am working hard to not be that person that blames other people for the problems in life. I really want to take ownership. And honestly, this podcast has really helped me, just because every week I'm reinforced with the same thing. So this has been a personal therapy for me of
Right.
myself.
This is
Like,
our
going through
couch,
this.
right?
Yeah. Well, and then after the show, of course, Brandon like lays into me. He's like, "Well, what are you doing with this? And what are you doing with this?" And like, he honestly, you've been a good friend, Brandon, just breaking this down for me, and I appreciate you for that. But I mean, I'm trying to take responsibility and ownership, and not have that same mentality of I'm not a victim. I can control. I can solve for my problems. I can take responsibility, but it requires stepping up and just having a different mindset. Mindset is critical. So anyways, I'll leave it there. I just wanted to share like two different people, same circumstances,
Right.
totally different results.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think this whole show is going to be there's going to be a reoccurring theme, and I say this all the time. My mom always said this when I was a kid: monitor your thoughts. Right? If you're not actively monitoring your thoughts throughout the day, your brain will run wild on you. Right? When it comes to, I guess, legitimate processing, I think it has like a direction. Right? It's slow, but it's not linear. It's definitely difficult. But it's moving, right? So I think there's something being built on the other side of it, even if it's fragile. Identity built around trauma is circular, though, in the opposite, right? You come back to the exact same place over and over again with the exact same language, and the narrative really has no exit ramp built into it, right? Now, who decides when it's time to move on? I mean, ultimately, it's you. Nobody really has a right to walk up to someone and say, "Hey, you've been processing long enough. It's time to be accountable." You know, that's super arrogant in my opinion, right? So what I do think happens naturally, though, is people who are generally processing start at some point asking what they're going to do with it. You know, the question stops being, "Why did this happen to me?" and it starts being, "What am I going to build with what happened?" Right? The shift is a real line. Not a timeline somebody else gets to tell you or set for you.
Gotcha. Richard,
Yeah, I am the senior of the group here, so I have gone through my share of trauma. I've certainly lost many people along the way, and never thought I would live this long. I'm an Army veteran, and again, I did grow up in Brooklyn, so I've seen trauma. I have to disagree a little bit with the fact that if you are close to somebody and you see that they are just stuck in that process, sometimes it helps to shake them up. To give some hard love, to bring them out of it. But I believe, you know, unfortunately nowadays there are a lot of that victim mentality going out there, that people, a large segment of our society are living on that. And I don't think that helps anyone. I think you ultimately attract what you put out there. If your mindset is very negative, you're going to attract that negativity. If you can turn it around, and I have been in periods of my life where very dark patches where I was stuck in deep depression, or whatever the case may be. But at some point, you need to, if you're not doing it yourself, either a friend or maybe some professional advice. You need to shake that off. You need to move on with life. You need to get out of that hole and take a step forward, because it's too easy to stay in that hole sometimes. I've had people that I really wish I held back and wish that I had stepped up and I didn't, and tragedies happen. And then there's other people that have been in the deep dark place and in trauma, and I've actually helped to help them take the step to move out of it.
I'm glad you said that, by the way, because I'm thinking about the person that I just was talking about, and I just texted my wife and I said, "Hey, can we just show up, make that person go out to eat with us," kind of a thing, like grab dinner. I think that's a really good point. Sometimes we need to help each other get out of our own way.
Gotcha. And this to answer, first of all, Richard, I appreciate your service. I didn't know you was an Army vet. My grandfather was an Army veteran as well, Korean War vet as well. So I appreciate your service. I think that how we distinguish between somebody processing it and when they build the identity around it, you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Like Richard alluded to, if everything is negative, and you have and you say, "Oh man, just my luck," and I know that something's gonna go bad, and like, hey man, you gotta, and like Richard alluded to, that's when I give that tough love, like, hey man, you gotta fix that, and that's when I think I identify you building an identity around it, because you're anticipating things. So there's healing. I get something happen or whatever, that's fine. But when you start to anticipate negativity, and that's when I have to step in, and I got to hold you accountable. Like, hey, don't you think it's your own thoughts that's generating this? Because you're looking for it. Like, we had a clip a while back that David curated that was from Tony Robbins. That he had was it Tony Robbins? The guy closed his eyes and he said, "All right, look, name everything brown in the room," and then and he said, "All right, well, tell me what's orange." He's like, I couldn't because I'm looking for everything brown.
Yep.
So
if you're not looking for it.
You're not looking for it. So if you're looking for negativity, it will definitely find you because you're focused on that. So.
Well, and by the way, with that point, the whole thing was look for this. If you're listening to somebody saying, listen for this. So you're curating people that say around you, your friend group, your social media, everything that's saying, look at the negative, look at the negative. I went through this. I had this problem. This is what you need to do. And you're focused on that. You're focused on red. You're not going to see green or brown or another color because you're focused on red. So if you're stepping away from that and you don't surround yourself with that, now it's easier to step back 10,000 foot view, and now you can see everything. And you can actually look at this through the proper lens of, am I thinking this way? Am I thinking that way? Should I think this way or this way? So it was a really good video. I loved that the way he explained it was just really good. Go back and watch that episode that we played that clip if you guys want to watch that.
Right, and it's like I told Dan Fouts today, are you looking for to qualify me, or are you looking to disqualify me?
Exactly.
If you're looking for negative things to disqualify me, you sure will find them.
Yep. Yep. Our coaches here at the company, we need to exactly that same thing. Yep. We need to think about how do we get more coaches qualified and up and running, not how do we disqualify coaches.
Right. If victimhood makes blame comfortable, business exposes its costs. The moment you blame the market, your team, your customers, you have surrendered control of the outcome. So let's go to this next, and you'll see what I'm talking about in this next clip. So let's go to this next clip.
Makes you feel angry. Nobody makes you feel tense. Nobody makes you feel upset. You always decide how you're going to feel. And then if you're not careful, you will fall into a negative habit pattern of blaming the other person. Blame is the core of all negative emotions. When you stop blaming, you cut down the negative emotion tree. You cut it off, you kill it, and all the negative emotions die simultaneously. The conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. It's the thought that the conscious mind holds that determines how the emotions will react, how the subconscious mind will react. since it can only hold one thought at a time, what you do is you knock out the thought that is causing the negative emotion, the blame thought, and you replace it with this affirmation: I am responsible. I am responsible is the most powerful, positive affirmation you can use, because the instant that you say, I am responsible, you exert complete control over your emotional life. The instant you say, I am responsible, suddenly you are back in the driver's seat. Nobody makes you.
Right. You're responsible for everything that you. I'm gonna tell this quick story. One of the first things I learned in management, because I've been in management basically all my life. I was watching this movie Bugs Life that came out in the 90s, right? And this was right. And the queen was missing, and then there's a new queen that took over, right? I believe, and something happened. I think the hive got attacked, and she said, "Well, it wasn't my fault." And somebody said, "You know, in management, everything's your fault." You know,
You're
so,
right.
Yeah. So in life, everything's your fault. You know. So even if it's something that happened to you, you can't analyze and then reflect on what can I do better to prevent that from happening the next time. You know, so that's taking complete ownership of it. Let's get to the question here. Is going to be, let's flip it to business. How can a business owner distinguish between identifying a legitimate external obstacle and using that obstacle to avoid examining their own strategy, decisions, or execution? Flipping it to business, because let's get it in the business aspect. We talked about traumas in the last clip. Let's talk about business as far as what we know. Is it the market? Is it the customers? Is it the media? We could do all kind of blaming, but maybe it's your strategy. Maybe you don't have a system to follow up. Maybe you don't have control of you're not landmarking your schedule properly. Could it be that? And I'll go ahead and open it up to the panel.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, when it comes to something like that, what you're looking at is two parts, right? There's naming and identifying the obstacle, and then figuring out the strategy, right? So when your response to the obstacle is just renaming it, complaining about it, constantly talking about the obstacle, then you're trapped in that circular logic where you're not doing anything, you're not accomplishing anything. Now, of course, you have to understand and recognize the obstacle to create the strategy to get past that obstacle, right? Are you building relationships? Let's talk about the mortgage business, right? Rates went up in the last 18 months. Inventories, not where it needs to be. So are you just sitting here complaining about that fact, or are you adjusting your strategy and preparing yourself, to overcome that obstacle, right? Building a strategy around it. The ones that are just blaming this obstacle are just waiting for it to change on its own. That's not going to happen, right? The way I test it is it an obstacle or is it an excuse? Right? You ask yourself whether your response involves action that you can control. If yes, then it's an obstacle. But if your whole response is just waiting for something external to change on its own, then it becomes an excuse.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, y'all can jump in no particular order.
Okay. I'll jump in. I spent years in sales and particularly in sales management. And you have to look at a business, even in a downturn of the economy, that particularly impacts an industry, even mortgages or whatever the case may be. If you look at 20 companies, they're not all doing the same. There's going to be the one that comes up with the strategy that overcomes that. You have to, again, take responsibility, even though there are outside factors that mitigate what's going on. It just means that you need to come up with a new game plan. You have to figure out a way around that obstacle or through that obstacle. Come up with a different strategy. because you can take 20 companies, and even in rough times, there'll be 2 or 3 companies that are outdoing everybody, and they're all dealing with the same situation. They're all dealing with the same economy. What is different is the leadership and the strategy that they're implementing.
Right. Just to add to that, there's still X amount of millionaires being made every month.
Yep.
People blame the economy, people blame administration, people blame all this stuff, but there's still people that's winning right now. So David, I'll let you get before I.
100%. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, like, I was trying to look up the stats real quick. I don't know if everybody else saw this, but like realtor specific, just in the last few days here, a stat was released that now it's up almost 80%. It's 79 point whatever. And I was trying to find it quick, but I couldn't find it fast enough. Almost 80% of realtors did not close one transaction last year. 80%. That's a big number.
I believe
I'm
it.
assuming they want to, right? They want to close business. They're licensed. They got into the business because they want to close business, but they're not closing any business. So is it because of an obstacle of the market, which legitimately it's a harder market, 100%. But we have people in the industry, in both the mortgage and real estate industry, that are closing a ton of business. So is it the person? Is it the market? Is it something else? I don't know. I mean, like any argument could be made about different things. And I think everybody's really good at making excuses, and I am one of them. Like when I was watching these videos ahead of time, I'm literally thinking, to be honest, I'm supposed to be a co-host talking about this. I don't really have a leg to stand on here. I used to be a top producer. Like that right there. That's the Broker of the Year award in 2020 in all of Minnesota. That's not me anymore. Because I've bounced companies 4 times. I've had to rebuild my team multiple times. I'm rebuilding my CRM 7 times. I have so many problems and reasons for excuses. And Brandon, the other night, you held me accountable to this even, and you were trying to be a friend to me. And after our show, tell me, David, but what are you doing for this? Like, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? Like, which I appreciated, because I've been thinking about this more and more, and I'm like, I really, really, really need to do exactly this. Stop making excuses. Just take ownership. Take responsibility of what I can control and what I can't. And go. Just go. Stop being distracted by so many other things. And run.
Right. I wish excuses was currency. I wish that when the bill collector calls and say, hey, we about to disconnect your lights, like, hey, all right, so here's the excuse for it. So and it's not acceptable. So that's not how this works. Especially with us as men, you don't get any sympathy.
No.
There is no sympathy for a man, because we have to earn our value.
You're the one in charge. You have to lead. You have to run this thing.
Not only you have to earn your value for yourself, but if you want to forge a family, you have to earn your value for a family. You're responsible for others as well. So if you're head of the household, you're responsible for that household. So we don't have the luxury to make excuses. It's either it is or it isn't. What are you going to do about it? So the victim. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, no matter what the situation, the bills still have to get paid.
Bills still have to get paid. Go ahead.
I would say you mentioned the 80% of realtors haven't closed anything. I would have to say, even in a good economy, the breakdown is about that as well. Right. 80-20. That's what it is in pretty much any sales situation. real estate's a little bit strange in that you have a lot of part-time realtors out there who, don't really work full-time at it. But I think even when it's booming, you're going to find that most of the work is done by only 20% of the industry.
That's because I think they think this is a lottery ticket. I think people come on both sides in our business, on the real estate side and on the loan officer side, thinking this is going to be a get rich quick.
And keep in mind, by the way, if you look at the stats on the chart, it's 80% of realtors have closed none, but 5% or less have closed 10, 11, 12, like one a month in the last year. Like it's tiny. The stats are way skewed in our industry. It's a little better in the mortgage world because we have access to refinances and things like that too. But it still is very similar. It's not that different. Honestly, if you're closing, I want to make sure anybody watching this in real estate or mortgage, if you're closing even a few transactions a year, you're already elite. Right there.
Well, I don't like that. Let me say
okay,
two things.
I know what you're gonna say. Before you say it, you're already ahead of others. You're not elite. Let's back that down. You do not think you're complacent.
Right. So I think this. I want to say two stories. Real. I think there is that this came out. I don't know if you know that they just changed this. I know in Texas. I don't know about nationwide. They just changed the grading scale. Now anywhere from 100 to 79 is a A now. No, it's 100 to 84 is an A. 84 to 64 is a B. 64 to 44 is a D. No, it's a C. 44 to 24 is an F. So now they're changing the grading scale. Now they're I remember in my day it was 94 was a B. So they're
talking about grades in school, you're saying.
Grades in school. So they're lowering the bar of excellence. So I think when we start saying, hey, as long as I do a few, I'm better than everybody else, I think you're lowering the standard. And I want to echo what Mike Cordes said in town hall last week. And Mike Cordes is the CEO of Nexa Lending, who we all affiliated with. He said, and I don't know if y'all was in the town hall when the guy, yeah, man, what advice do you have from an LO that's struggling? You remember that question?
I actually don't think I saw that particular point. Right.
So Mike was like, yeah, you could either get out there and put a system together and do something, or you can sit there and wait at home and just wait for some stuff to drop out the sky and, somebody to wait for the phone to ring. So what you gonna do? So a lot of people sitting there and wait. What are you waiting on? You got to do something. Everything works, nothing doesn't, right?
Nope.
You mentioned
every day.
Right.
You mentioned the lowering of standards in education, and that has gone. It's more societal push, right. Where even in sports now they want to just give everybody a participation award as opposed to awarding the ones that excel. They have classes now that they want to just make pass fail so that we don't traumatize the people who are not as educationally gifted. And in doing that sort of thing, you kind of, by lowering the bar, you lower people's motivation to do well.
Right. Let me say this, and this is by no way misogynistic or anything like that. This is making a point. We can't continue to make everything be girl push-ups.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go back to old school push-ups, even push-ups on the fingertips. Sometimes that's what it takes to strengthen your hands. That's what it takes. So everything as we start grading on the curve, I think everything's gonna slip down.
You make a good point, Brandon, because even if you start doing girl push-ups, they don't create the same muscle as the real thing, right? So you can make it as easy as you want, you're only doing yourself a disservice because you're not going to get the benefit of actually doing it the hard way.
Right. By cutting corners, you're actually cutting out your growth.
Yeah.
You know. With that being said, let's get to this next one here. If blaming others reveal weak leadership, here's the harder truth: whoever you continue to blame may have more control over you than you and your business than you do. So for the guy that Mike Cordes was talking about, that I'm struggling now because I'm new, I'm struggling. All right. So when Bill's called and hey, I'm new, and they're not gonna care. So I know he used that as a crutch, and I don't know if he took what Mike saying was as harsh or whatever, but I like Cordes. Cordes is like me. He's gonna tell you straight up.
Yep.
And that's how it is. So let's run this next clip here, and let me show you what I'm talking about on this.
Just look at who you blame. It's so much easier to cast blame outwards. Your power follows the direction of where you point blame. So if you say, I'm this way because my mom didn't support me enough, I'm this way because my dad wasn't present, then guess who actually has complete control over your life? Them, or your perception of them. But if you said, I'm this way because I'm not resilient enough, I wasn't adaptive enough, I didn't have enough tolerance to handle that level of stress, well, then guess what? What can you do now? You can do something about it. And here's what a lot of people refuse to accept about personal power. Because you admitted that you were in charge, you were the one in control, or at least you have some control, some influence over the outcome of how you act. Most people, they would rather be victims with an excuse than architects with responsibility, because being a victim is easier. It protects your ego. It gives you someone to blame when life doesn't really go your way. But it also strips you of all the power to change everything. Every time you blame your parents, your ex, your boss, your circumstances, you are handing them the remote control to your life. You are saying, they broke me, and only they can fix me. That's not freedom. That is a prison that you are choosing to stay in. The moment that you take full responsibility, even for things that weren't really your fault, you reclaim your power. You stop being a passenger in your own life, and you become the driver. You stop waiting for external conditions to change, and then you start changing yourself. This doesn't mean what happened to you didn't matter. It means that you refuse to let it define you. You refuse to give anyone else authorship over your story. Your past shaped you, but it doesn't have to control you. The only person who gets to decide who you become from this point forward is you. But only if you stop blaming everybody else and you start building yourself.
Right. So let me ask the panel here. What's the difference between saying this wasn't my fault and saying this is still my responsibility to solve? And why do so many business owners confuse the two?
So I would say the first one, the first statement's it's more centered on the past, right? The second one is more of a commitment to the future, right? So they're not the same sentence, and they don't have to be connected. I can say this rate environment was something I can't say this rate environment was something I caused. That's true, but I can also say it's entirely my responsibility to figure out how to serve my clients anyway, right? That's also true. So those two statements don't really cancel each other out. And I'd say, I guess, why do people confuse them? I think because in our culture, the saying, this is my responsibility, has been conflated with saying I was wrong or I'm to blame, right? So when a typical business owner hears, this is your responsibility to solve, they hear, oh, you caused this, right? And then they get into defense mode and they want to defend themselves. from the admission instead of moving toward the actual solution. The faster you separate those two ideas, right, past attributions, future actions, I think the faster you can stop defending and start actually building something.
Good point. I mean, he said ego. He said the key word in that whole thing is ego. It protects the ego. I think people want to look good rather than actually being good. I think the you know, and feel good than actually be good. You know, so it doesn't make them feel nice to say, hey, this is it's my fault that I'm struggling. You know, it's my fault that I hadn't, hadn't done what I needed to do in order to excel. It's my fault. It's easier and it feels better to most people to say, damn, the market's down, huh? Slow month, tough month, huh? Right. I mean, it feels better. I mean, it caters to the ego, right? It makes you, it takes the spotlight off of you. But if you highlight, hey, damn, I didn't make any calls with past clients this week. I didn't actually send out any emails, so it's actually my fault I didn't close anything. That's too tough. I didn't go to this open house. I didn't go to these events. I didn't meet. I didn't talk to that realtor when I had a chance. I
didn't let my mortgage advisor help me, by the way.
Right. So it's a plethora of things that you could say. I think what happens, I think they do cancel each other out. Just to give you a little pushback, Anthony. I think it's two opposite things. I think if you look at the world as, I can't control what happened to me, but I can control the output, and I can control how I respond to it, and I can control my intentions. Then I think you go to a whole different thing. I think they confuse the two because of the ego. And I'll go ahead and open it up.
I think that in business, like in sports, you don't really grow until you hit those losses or those points that help you to learn more. If you constantly doing the same thing over and over, you're not going to learn as much. That would be great, unrealistic, but great. But you're not going to learn as much because you haven't gone through those trials. I've been in that situation where I've been part of the sales team and blaming stuff on the manager and all that. For the last 15 years, I've been working independently. It's just me. I have nobody else to blame but me. And I've taken my share of losses. And what you do with those losses, you have to see, even when it wasn't your fault, you have to study the situation, see what portion of it you contributed to. And if nothing else, certainly learn from that and make your adjustments. But yeah, it doesn't matter whose fault it was, you still have to get to your goal. I think by putting it on somebody else, you take away your ability to make those corrections. If it was my responsibility, I'm going to do other actions to take charge of that. If I'm just putting it off on somebody else, well, then I can't control them. That was their mistake, and you're not going to grow from that.
Yeah, I think this has been covered well. Honestly, I'm just doubling down on this is still my responsibility to solve. No matter what situation you're in, I still need to solve for the problem. I still need to take action. I need to do something, whatever it is. And there's a thousand different ways to skin a cat, right? Like there's a lot of ways you can do this stuff. Everything works, nothing doesn't. You can try different things, but you got to double down on something or a couple things and go and take responsibility for what you can control. And arguably this bleeds into, we're talking business specific here, but this bleeds into other areas of life too. If you have a struggling personal life, financial situation, emotional situation, all kinds of other things going on that impact this, it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I'm taking responsibility for my business, but not in everything else. And then those other things now become the excuse, which without realizing it can become the excuse for the business, which I think personally, speaking from experience here, that's been my biggest struggle. Is there's a lot of things going on in my world, my life over the last few years that have affected my business. And in turn, I'm taking this and turning it into a business concept of, well, I'm struggling in this area because of this, but am I really? Or am I taking ownership here, but not over there? And if I take ownership of both or all 10 things, because it's not just one or two things, it's usually 10 things. If you take ownership of everything, then it's easier. But if you're only taking ownership of one thing or two things and not the rest, then it makes it harder. So I think my main point landing that plane is take ownership of everything, which is our end video that we now have been launching, which I love that video. That's something I'm trying to personally work on, is take ownership of everything. My sleep, my eating, my habits, my family, my spirituality, everything. Take ownership of everything. If you do that, everything else in business gets easier.
Right. And we have a clip coming up about that here, about kind of what you're saying. And I want to say this. I want to say, if I had time, I was going to play the clip, you know, and that was like a treat. But I'll go ahead and explain the clip, because I don't know if I want to play it, because it was like a fight video, you know, and it was a fight video, and it dawned on me.
I think you should play it, honestly, but
I might play it, but I don't want to get flagged at the same time. No,
good call.
It was a family show, but it struck me like I hadn't had a fight in 30 years. But the guy that was doing the meta commentating on it, the talking head video, he said, "This is a classic example. If you don't train, you can't fight."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so as a man, you are the protector and a provider. So if you can't protect yourself, you can't protect the wife, you can't protect a family, no matter how old you are. That's an excuse. So why are you not actively training? That's like me not playing the piano for 30 years and then hopping in, let me do a concert. Even though I might know how to play the piano, I'm dusty, I'm rusty. So if I'm not actively training, somebody could come with me right now. I might think my reflexes are not the same as they were when I was a teenager.
Yep.
So that's part of that. And just to piggyback what you're saying, that's ownership of everything. What I put in my mouth, what I put in my mind, who I surround myself with, who I, as far as getting in shape, as far as training. We used to do stuff like that. We used to lift heavy stuff. And I got a clip coming up about that. We used to do stuff like that. Now we done got, we've been doing girl push-ups on everything.
Yeah.
So let's get to this one right here. Actually complaining. This next clip is about complaining. Complaining is a bill your business pays without receiving anything in return. Every minute spent defending an excuse is a minute stolen from building the solution. So complaining, and we all know those that complain. I've never seen in my life a complaint that actually just turned into currency. You can't, complain yourself into prosperity, without any action.
Right. And to add to that, Brandon, is that a lot of people don't realize there are people watching you, right? So it's not just the time you spent complaining. That's compounded, right? Because you're not just spending a minute complaining. you're spending a minute complaining and training everyone around you that's watching you, your family, your friends, the people you're supposed to impress that might provide an opportunity for you later on, right? You're training them that in your life, complaining is an acceptable response to a problem. But once you build that culture, I mean, that bill gets too big to change, right? So you got to watch out. Complaining will destroy bridges that you don't even see are in front of you yet.
Right. Let's get into this clip about complaining here. Let's run this one.
And that's something that really annoys me. You are responsible for everything in your life, even the things that weren't your fault. Born into poverty, not your fault. But escaping it, that's on you. Bad economy, not your fault. But adapting to it, that's on you. Your country has no opportunities, not your fault. But creating your own opportunity, that's on you. I know it sounds harsh, but here's the truth. Blaming the economy won't build your wealth. Blaming your country won't open any doors. Blaming society won't change your bank account. Complaining feels good for 5 minutes, but building, that lasts a lifetime. So study those who came from nothing and became successful. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking a better question. What am I going to do about it? Stop blaming what you can't control and start investing in the one thing you can, yourself.
Just before we start, I like what Richard did his interview that's going to air Friday night, by the way. And one of the common themes that he said is, everything was investing in itself. Complaints is something that actually is actually like I said, a bill. That's actually something that you're leaking out. Is actually taken away from your productivity. Let me ask you this: can complaining ever be productive in business? And what must follow? Hold on, let me finish the question.
I love where your head's at because I'm thinking the same thing.
And what must follow it for the complaint to become leadership instead of temporary emotional relief?
I said yes, just from the point of view as a salesman. I got to the point where I love to have a customer that came in and complained because it gave me the opportunity to be able to be of service, to show them empathy, show them that I was looking to help them. And in a lot of situations, you get them, they had complaints about X product, and you put so much time and attention to them where Mr. Jones, your solution is actually product B, which is a lot more expensive, but let me tell you why this is going to make a difference for you. And they gave you a lot of opportunities, not only to shine, but to show some flexibility, some empathy, and again, it was always a moneymaker.
I hear you on that, but this is for on the business owners or being inside of the business.
Sure.
Complaining inside of the business or as the owner or the leader or team leader, is that ever productive? Now I understand what clients, that's perfect for when you want to sell them, upsell them, stuff like that. But that they're usually complaining about something else, a competitor, which is good for business. But internally,
I think it is beneficial because it depends on how you frame it, right? If you're complaining, well, I wouldn't say complaining. I like the word diagnosing. So if you diagnose an issue, you can address it. If you're just diagnosing it and you're not addressing it, then it's just an empty complaint, right? And I think diagnosing a problem or an issue is how you connect with people. That's sales 101, That's exactly how you connect with people is you figure out what the issue, what the pain point is, and you're not just complaining about it, you're offering a solution. So it's got to be quick. You diagnose, you complain, solution has to follow up pretty quickly, right? I remember I used to do that with my son. My son used to come, and I used to, when he got out of school, I had what we call man camp, right? So every issue you have with me, by the time you get done explaining it to me, we're now moving on to the solution. And honestly, this is where I always had trouble dealing with women, because a lot of times the opposite sex, they're not so much looking for you to provide a solution.
Solve.
Yeah, they don't want you to solve it, right? They just want to spend a little bit more time in the diagnosis stage, right? So they feel that they're heard. But that's one thing I feel like it could be beneficial as long as there is a next step after it.
Well, let me say this. Let me push back a little bit. I think just like I did with Creative Connect, like, all right, this is the pain point. This is the diagnosis. Let me do this. Let me go ahead and step up to solve it. We need to go ahead and meet with Dan Files. We need to go directly to the source to solve this, whether I need to be a coach or what I need to do to solve this, because this is good. There is no game plan. We need to get a game plan together in order to solve this particular pain point. So yeah, I complain, but it wasn't just for the sake of complaining. It wasn't that, hey, this is never going to work, blah, blah, blah. Look what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So if I can't beat them, with these coaches, join them and be the best.
Yes.
Make them step their game up.
I was thinking about the analogy of a doctor. If a good doctor listens well to their patients, I come in and I say, "Hey, Brandon, I'm hurting," and you say, "Okay, I'll prescribe you this." Did you even listen? You don't even know where I'm hurting? Right? You haven't heard a single thing. I'm complaining about hurting, but you're not able to solve for it. If I come in and say, I'm hurting here, and you're asking good questions and you're identifying, diagnosing, okay, it could be, now that we've gone far enough down this hour-long discussion, now I know it's probably one of three things. And it could be this, or this because of what you said. Now here's the path. I think we should try this, then this, then this. And this is the solution to it. So to this point here, if you have a complaint, a legitimate complaint in business, but you can think ahead, is my challenge to anybody watching. Think ahead of what would the possible solution be? If I had a business coach right now, what would the possible solution be? What would they tell me? What would they do? To try to think ahead of that. And or if you're not sure, go hire that coach to help you get that solution, and then figure out, what do I need to do to change my mentality, my focus, my day, my whatever, my strategy to make this work so that I can have the feeling of relief of not having to deal with this complaint or problem anymore. So if you're going in solution-based oriented, if you're going in with that mentality, I think it makes a big difference. Same thing as, honestly, Nexa, best mortgage platform on the planet, bar none. We can prove that mathematically, by the way. There's no company that can stack up. However, as great as Nexa lending is across the country, we still have our weak points. We still have things we need to work on. I have complaints because I have a super high attention to detail on these things that I want to fix. But it's not complaining to complain. It's, let's talk through how to fix it. Let's solve for it. Exactly what you just said, Brandon. Hey, we need better coaches, people that can step up and take the lead in helping families across the country in taking on these clients. Great. Let me step up and be a coach. I'll take them on. Let's go. That's an incredible way of going about it. And you're inspiring me to want to say the same thing. Maybe I should step up and be a coach. Maybe Anthony should step up and be a coach. I don't know. Maybe that's the solution to solve for some of this. But when you're thinking about it that way, it changes the way you go about the entire process. It's not complaining to complain. It's bringing up a problem and then creating the solution before anybody else has even thought of the solution.
Or
Does that make
better
sense?
yet, or better yet, becoming the solution yourself, not
Yes.
just suggesting and as becoming a solution.
Yes.
And that's what I'm. All right, I'm volunteering. That's why I kind of got. And I don't get pissed off. I don't get angry because, like I said, but we almost got into it because, hey, you're dismissing me because I'm actually volunteering myself, my time, and everything to make this work for you guys.
When I
You
meet
guys
with
are
him
making all
tomorrow,
the
by the
money.
way, I'm going to go to bat for you.
Right.
And it's
They're making
amazing.
all the money.
I know you ain't got much time, Brandon, for you to be volunteering that kind of commitment.
Right.
That's
Right.
a lot.
Right. Exactly. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe you didn't like my shirt. It's a Nexus shirt, but I don't know what you don't like. But you barely heard anything from me. But
I
anyway,
think from a management point of view, complaints could be valuable in that, everybody has their own focus and their own thought on how things are going. And it's valuable to see those other perspectives. If, complaints could lead to better solutions. And ultimately, somebody who complains way too much is also valuable because that's somebody that's going to affect the mindset of the rest of the people around them. People who are chronic complainers usually got the door.
And by the way, I think part of the problem is so many of those in leadership roles are hearing complaints so frequently, it gets really hard to tune out like the noise. Everybody complains, they all bring it up, everybody wants to get to that leadership person to make a change, but they don't have anything to have a solution based concept here. It's just complaining to complain. So I think a lot of people at the top get exhausted by this and they shut it down. So that's my theory, honestly, Brandon. Like even today, there's so many people that have brought these concepts up that it's just shut down of like, oh yeah, sure, it's another thing, it's another whatever, and it's not thought about in the same way of, wait a second, this guy actually, Brandon, knows what he's talking about. David, Anthony, Richard, we know what we're talking about on this topic. We have a legitimate thing that we're complaining about and a solution to provide you as well.
Right.
I think sometimes that gets lost in the noise of the complaints of the masses, the majority.
Right. This next subject here is going to be kind of what David alluded to earlier. This is the clip that I was talking about. Does order in your personal environment genuinely strengthen your business discipline, or do we sometimes mistake cleanliness and organization for character and competence? This is my theory, and don't take this the wrong way. This is my observation. And I've been, I recently moved to the northern part of Houston. I'm in the outskirts now. I used to live in Katy, which is a pretty high end area in out of Houston. You familiar with Katy, right, Richard?
Yep.
Yeah. So I moved from Katy now. I'm in Cleveland, Texas now. So I noticed this ride. I want to make my area Conroe, Willis, Magnolia, the northern part. Where they're developing. So riding around and kind of getting familiarized with the neighborhoods, I noticed one thing. I noticed when you go into affluent neighborhoods, everything's manicured, neat. The sprinkler system's hitting at a right angle. Everything, the windows are clean and pristine, and the neighbors speak, and they wave to you, and everybody's outside walking dogs and fitness. So you turn a corner, and you go to a poor neighborhood. It's trashed outside. Everything's out of disorder. Everything's everywhere. You got plenty of cars in the yard that don't work. They got grass. What the hell is this? I'm not saying every, but I'm noticing a pattern. it's almost like clockwork. I could tell by when I turn down the street and I see the disorder, I could possibly tell how much they're making in it. You know, and why is that? What you know? So and this is what I do. And I'm gonna say one more story after we play this clip. I make the bed. I don't leave any dishes. I fold everything just out of habit, just to have that sense of accomplishment.
It's awesome.
You know, every morning I make the bed, even though I'm not going anywhere.
That's
Nobody's
a great
coming
book.
over.
Make Your Bed is a great book,
Right.
by the way, for those that haven't
Right.
read it.
Nobody's coming in the bedroom. Just the sense of accomplishment first thing. And it's order. It's something that it mentally organizes you for the day. You know, besides your prayer, your meditation, stuff like that.
Yep.
But just to start getting things in order.
That was the guy that wrote the book on that was like an army sergeant, captain, whatever. Like literally, make your bed, starts your day.
Right. I
Do
think that's
that.
what they do in the military, right?
Exactly. Stay organized, stay disciplined,
Mm-hmm.
and your entire life will work itself out if you just hold to it. Simple
Yes,
thing. So I'm glad you followed that. That's amazing.
Let's run this clip here, and then we'll talk about it here in a sec. We down to the last couple. We're making good time here.
Was a mess and why I couldn't keep it clean, everything in my life switched for me. Okay, I decided that I was never going to bed with a dirty house. I was never going to bed with dishes in my sink. I was going to make sure that I deep clean my house once a week for me. And I was going to teach my child that cleaning up behind yourself is your responsibility and that we don't live in filth. I was never going to be okay with that. When I decided to change my mindset, after that, when I decided that I was going to continue on with these practices, so many things in my life changed because I decided to stay consistent and be disciplined with this one area of my life. So you keep making excuses on why you can't keep a clean house. You keep making excuses on why you got a dirty car. Okay, that has nothing to do with me, but I know that everything is spiritual. And I believe that. Okay. And so one practice of me deciding to clean my house is opening up doors for different things in my life, but it's also closing doors to what the enemy was trying to bring in.
I don't know if she went kind of far on the back part, but the meat of the message was well received. Let me ask you this. Which private habit predicts how someone will lead a business? And what eventually happens when their public ambition becomes greater than their private discipline? So this, digesting the clip, let's first start off, do you believe in that? Like, how you conduct yourself privately is how it's going to leak over to the public? And if it's your surroundings is in disorder, most likely everything else is going to be in disorder? Do y'all subscribe to that?
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think it's about discipline. It's funny. I live in Killeen, Texas, which is just outside of Fort Hood. And you certainly run into those neighborhoods with the beat down houses and people don't care. But you can drive into neighborhoods that are also low cost houses, but these are all military people and their stuff is squared away, and it's about the way you carry yourself personally. The discipline that you have in your personal life does bleed over into the way you handle business and the way the discipline that you handle your business in.
Anybody else want to tackle that?
Yeah. So I mean, I think what happens. So like Richard said, it is all about discipline, right? But what people don't realize is that when there is the absence of discipline, people are just running and performing by the seat of their pants, right? You're running on adrenaline, you're missing deadlines, you don't have the proper systems, there's no order or structure. And honestly, that's when you see people that are just beat down by their profession, 20, 30 years in the game, and now they're just they're worn down because there's no structure, no order, and they're just running on adrenaline all the time. You can outspend your private discipline for a while with just energy or charisma, like just pushing through it. But after a while, it's not gonna last. Your body will break down, right? You have to lean on your discipline and create those systems that create order in your life to make it, because life is going to be tough outside of that, right? There's no reason letting your life be so messy that you're adding to the curveballs you're inevitably going to get, right? So I agree. It is those systems, you know, for example, if I don't get up at 4:35 in the morning, if I don't get out, do my walk, do my my stretching, the 5 or 6 things I do before I even turn on the computer, I just don't feel right, you know. But when I do accomplish those things, like you said, Brandon, you're on a high, and everything else just is downhill.
Anthony, kudos to you for doing that every single morning, by the way. I mean,
I'm not perfect. I'm just, I hope that I got that across, right?
Doing the best you can to fulfill that dedication you've committed to yourself of like, I want to do this. Because funny thing is, I want to do the same thing. I'm not doing it right now. I'm not doing it. So I need to get better at this. But the problem is I have other things in the way that keep getting in the way of this. So, I mean, you asked the question, which private habit best predicts? Enough sleep, eat right, drink plenty of water, read. I mean, meditation. Think about like what you're doing and like where you are in life, and like pause to just reflect. Everything you do in life ties into business. They cross over. And if you're not performing well as a person, you're not going to do great in business. Every successful person I've ever met in business has those things buttoned up. They get up at the 5:30 a.m. They're doing the run. They're doing the workout. They do these things. And I'm not there yet, personally. But I see this in every single business person that is successful. And I'm like, why am I not doing this? But it's good that we have these people to look at as examples to imitate. And I love that we have that. And I want to imitate those examples because I believe personally, if I drink more water, eat better, go to sleep on time, do my run and workout in the morning and my stretches and everything else, and, you know, self-care and all these other things, I firmly believe, even though Brandon's going to argue, just stop sleeping and just make videos all day long. As much as he might say that, I still feel like I need to do these other things over here, be better and take better care of myself and stop letting other people take over my life. Because honestly, that's been my biggest struggle lately is other people have taken over my schedule. So if I can just control my schedule a little better and get back to what is important to me, double down on 1 or 2 marketing things, double down on my family, double down on my sleep, my water, food, everything, do the whole thing. If I do this correctly, I should succeed by default, right?
Not by default. I mean, that's it's a good framework to start off with, but it's not going to automatically.
You still need the right strategy, and yes, exactly. Good point.
But in order to put your pants on, you still have to put it on one leg at a time. You still have to have a system on putting your
I like to
pants
jump into the pants.
Right. So yeah, a lot of times you might fall. It's not a good strategy. You might pull something. You know, so one leg at a time is a better strategy. So so that's the thing with that. Let me say this. You know, I took years off. You know, because I used to bodybuild. You know, I know you probably could tell by the deltoids and stuff.
Dude, by the way, if nobody's seen a picture of Brandon from the past year, dude was ripped, man.
Right, my bad. I hit the camera by mistake. But yeah, I used to be sliced and diced. Am I getting feedback?
Yes. Give it a sec. The camera might have thrown it off a sec.
All right. What about now?
You're good.
All right, cool. So I took years off. You know, just eating, cans of tuna for years and egg whites. I did that for years and years, right? So I got in my 40s and I just totally took off. As I gained like damn near 200 pounds. You know, actually 200 pounds plus. Ate what I want, you know, got up when I want, you know, made a bunch of money already twice, you know, and I'm like, yeah, let me kind of do what I want for a little while. It's tough. The biggest thing that impacts me is that people don't respect people that's overweight. I don't go into the same respect, and nor should I. I'm taking responsibility. Why should I get the same respect that, you know, even though I'm successful in business, I don't look like it though. And that's what the world. That's what. Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish the thought. Hold on. Let me finish the thought. So even though they're wrong, it's still a perception. It's still a perception. So it might not be wrong. You know, in this particular world, in a society, they want show me. They want to see it. So that's why you see most business people are in shape. You know, they look the part, and it just is what it is. I'm making it harder on myself. So now that I've been on the right path now for the last month, I'm down almost 40 pounds now. I've been getting up, doing my workout. That's why we pushed the show up, getting up, doing my workout, just eating my protein, no carbs, stuff like that. I'm almost back like I need to be. Everything's clear. Everything is back on track. Just making those adjustments, like kind of owning my schedule, owning myself, and actually doing the right thing actually sets everything else up as far as mental clarity. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sure. So I'll go yield the floor.
I want to just point out, every single person out there has their flaws, weaknesses, whether they're apparent or not. It doesn't really matter. Getting to know you better, of course, Brandon. I know we've talked about this before. That is something that is a personal thing for you of like, I need to do better with my health. That's a personal thing for you. For me, that's something I want to do, but it's not necessarily my focus for me. Like, every single person is a little bit different in how we approach this. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's doing this exactly right. Everybody's got their struggles and things going on in life and things we don't even see of family and friends and relationships and other things going on in life. Personal habits, personal weaknesses, trauma, like we talked about earlier, like just things that are happening in life that cause people to think the wrong way. And that's, I think, I don't know if that's the theme, because I'm always guessing at the theme, by the way, personally.
Actually, it's the opposite of the theme. Yeah, we could succumb to all of this stuff. We could succumb to, right. Hey, I'm depression. I got mental health issues. You could all of this stuff that I think this is a cope.
Yes.
Regardless to whom or what, regardless to what, every month bills are going to be due. That family still needs to be protected. You still need to be at your optimal best, because you never, you know, as far as mentally and physically and spiritually. So you need to be at your best. Nobody is in charge, or no, you're not entitled to be at your best. You have to earn it. How do you earn it? I earn it by doing the right thing, by waking up on time, getting enough sleep, getting enough water. All of these things is earning that health, earning that mental clarity. You have to earn it. You know, so he's not giving it to you.
I've never seen somebody who was especially financially irresponsible personally be able to translate into running a good business, because you're going to take that same irresponsibility, that same percentage of chaos that you allow in your life, and you're going to attract that amount of chaos into your life. You know, if you can't be disciplined in your personal life, you're not going to be disciplined in your business life.
Right. A lot of this is cope. A lot of this stuff that we've been doing, girl push-ups, and let's label this something. Oh, I have this. So now this is the excuse for me to slack because I have this. This is the excuse. This is the, the complaint. Oh, because I have this, I can't do. And it's cope. So let's get to this last clip here, and let me
add real quick on to that. Brandon said, yes, I'll be the first one to tell people that yes, you obviously want to keep your health first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, man, sometimes it takes you being witness to something. I started this journey getting back into shape with my mother, who's 70 years old, going through the healthcare system and seeing how if you're relying on that, you're in trouble.
Right. This is a fact.
You have to take ownership of your own life. And I'd rather go through the struggles that life is already going to lay out in front of me instead of adding my own with my physical health.
Right. Well, twofold is like, your children not responsible, or you're not entitled to get their care. That if they volunteer that's on them. But your irresponsibility, visits the next generation, right? So you're not able to take care of yourself because I think I'm getting some feedback. Or you didn't plan financially. We had a visitor from a guest a while back that was David's past client. That's what he did was insurance for that stage before you went into private care. So a lot of people don't plan for that. We kind of wing it. So all the planning is part of your responsibility.
And if you're gonna drink a 6-pack every day, you better make sure you have money squirred away.
Right.
That liquor gives out at 45.
Right. You plan on it. You might as well plan on it. You smoke a pack a day. Yeah, it's coming. So I don't know why we get delusional about this stuff. Let's run this last clip because we at the hour and a half. I said we're gonna be an hour and a half. So last clip. All right, is today's real crisis a lack of masculinity or lack of purpose, standards, and responsibility being mislabeled as a masculinity problem? So let's get into this last clip, and you kind of see what I mean.
Room. They sit at home, play video games all day, don't work out, don't dress well, and live off fast food and excuses.
Yeah.
No discipline, no pride, no edge. So of course women are struggling to find a good man.
Yeah.
Most of them didn't evolve, they opted out.
Yeah.
Back in my day, men went outside, they lifted heavy things, they ate beef, eggs, butter, real food, not protein bars with ingredient lists longer than a receipt. A man's body looked like he used it. His hands told a story. His posture said, don't test me. Men took responsibility seriously. See, testosterone doesn't disappear by accident. It dies when men choose comfort over challenge.
Yeah.
When they trade iron for screens.
Yeah.
A weak routine creates a weak man. And weak men create chaos in relationships and families and society. And the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Masculinity didn't become toxic. Inactivity did. Flo, it's your favorite.
All right, so that's a good way to end it. Can a man effectively lead a business, family, or community if he cannot lead his own daily routine? And what separates genuine masculine strength from aggression and performance? I don't know about the second half of the question, but the first question, the first part of that is real. If you can't take control of your own life and your daily routine and everything, your ownership, how can we lead families and lead communities and lead a business? It all ties together, right?
Absolutely. It comes
I
down
feel
to
sorry for there seems to be a push, and there has been for the last couple decades, downgrading masculinity, feminizing children, so that the strengths of masculinity are downgraded and they become softer. I found the people who are growing up have gone through almost a training process that started through school and through society, where that is, masculine strength is kind of almost looked down upon these days.
Toxic. Right.
Yeah,
And
I
I don't
think.
want to get. Oh, Anthony, go ahead.
All right, so I was going to jump in here. So I've noticed in the last couple of years there is this dichotomy or fight that they've staged, masculine, feminine. I don't think it has anything to do with any of that. It's discipline, right? Because a female or a feminine person can be disciplined just the same way as a masculine person. So if we stop framing it as masculine and feminine, I think it's just discipline, because without that discipline, your standards start dropping, right? And then we talked about this earlier. If we start to remove those standards or lower those standards, it requires less and less discipline. And then both sides are losing, right? The men are losing, the women are losing, because a woman still has to be disciplined in her life in all areas, just like a man has to be disciplined. Now our roles might change, they might fluctuate as time changes, as the world changes, but it doesn't mean the level of discipline has to change. As long as we keep that discipline up where it needs to be, the roles will take care of itself, in my opinion.
Right. This is not really about man versus woman. I'm saying, as head of the household, we are the leaders and the examples. So as we go, the household goes. Right. So if we became inactive and not doing the things that we used to do. I'll give you an example. They say an 18-year-old has less testosterone than a 50-year-old in the 1950s right now. This is studies, you can look that up. So they're saying an 18-year-old today has less testosterone than a 50-year-old did in the 1950s, right?
Yeah,
that's the problem. Huh?
They're not outside running around playing.
Right.
The lifestyle is different, right? Everything. The food is terrible.
The food,
right?
It's a combination. Inactivity. I mean, it's even in my day, back in I'm probably the second oldest, probably Richard. Richard, I'm right behind you. I just look young. What I mean? So back in the day, we had Rambo, we had Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and these big buff guys.
Yeah,
were the superheroes. Now you get these guys that's all kind of soft and skinny, and it's not the same level. Like guys used to be guys, and I'm not making this a man versus woman thing. What I'm saying is that testosterone is that hormone that makes you do things. It's the intent hormone. You got to get up. It makes you want to do something.
Competence.
Is it make and you got to do something. And I think we got too wrapped up in comfort, and that's what everything we said today. We don't take responsibility because it hurts the ego. It's uncomfortable to say it's my fault. It's not. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to actually stop complaining and let me go ahead and volunteer more time that I don't have to go ahead and be the solution. That don't feel good. It's not comfortable. So we run from it. We lack
What was that movie you talked about? What that I keep bringing up?
On the movie.
The movie where everybody is just dumb and not paying attention.
Oh, Idiocracy.
Idiocracy.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, there is a conscious effort to make us less competent, less accountable, weaker, more mentally weak. Like that. There's that's the theme.
Although that might be true, we can't use that as an excuse.
Well,
yeah.
It's all right. What are we gonna do about it? I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do about it. I'm gonna look the part. I'm working on that now. I'm done with the fast food and the comfort living. And I'm gonna not only talk the talk, but I'm gonna walk the walk. And I'm gonna show people through digital and throughout the community. I can't do everything, but I can start with the community that I established, right? And let me go ahead and be the leader. Let me be the example, because men are ahead of the business. well, not all business, but been the head of the household. And then once you master that, you could be a head of the community in a business, right? But it starts with the house, right? So until you get your own affairs in order, you're gonna be spinning out of control.
Right. And I'm gonna throw out there, I'm gonna say nothing on most of the topic here. As a Bible instructor, all of this was actually said would happen. Exactly what you all just said was going to happen, and it is happening. So I'm not really surprised by it. This is what the society has become. It absolutely is exactly this, is masculinity has been diminished over time. So when this happens, what can we do as men to take the lead and do the right thing and step up to the level that we need to follow to help our families, to help society, to help people? So I think doing everything that we can to just increase our daily performance, as it says here, of masculine strength, aggression, performance, like all these different things, business, family, community, all these topics, all of this ties in together. Like there's nothing that is separated. Like we're trying to, in this context, or we're trying to go into business specifically, of course, but all of these things tie in together overall. So having a really clear, disciplined understanding of this is me. This is how I'm going to run my life, not just business, my life. This makes a big difference in how everything works out for you in life.
Right. Final thought, and then we'll get the last question out, and we could go ahead and wrap it up. Ownership doesn't mean everything's your fault. It means the next move is your responsibility. Stop surrendering power through blame. Make the adjustment and build forward. So that's the theme of the day. All right. So with that being said, let's get to the last question. After watching all the clips, what's one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Richard, I'll go to your guest, so I'll go to you first.
It's funny because we touched on the whole masculinity thing and how there's empowerment, and part of empowerment is taking responsibility. It reminded me, I wake up, I do a little bit of work before I go to the office, and I always like to listen to some motivational video on usually YouTube. And this one was, what you need to do is you need to be a beast, and you then have the discipline to be able to dial that down, but you need that side of you. And I believe that you have to have that strength. You have to have that ability to overcome and to not just roll over. And I think a lot of as especially as older men in the society, it's up to us to add that lost portion of lesson and of example to the younger generations, because I think it's purposely being a less masculine society is easier to control. So I don't think all of it. I think a lot of it is purposely done.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest takeaway is something that I've lived my entire life on is monitoring your thoughts. Right. I think everybody has to take time to sit with themselves and actually be introspective. Understand, hey, this is what's going on in my brain. How do I diagnose it? How do I get past it? How do I overcome it? Richard said something interesting. What helped me get up every morning at 4:30 in the morning was I put on my alarm was those the Motiversity. I don't know if you've heard of it, where they're basically just yelling at you, get up, stop crying. There are people that don't have the luxury you have. Stop whining, stop being sorry for yourself, get up and go get it, right? That kind of motivation helped me out. So not only is it on you, but you're also have the ability to leverage other things to help you along the way, right? That's what makes humans humans. We're excellent tool users. So you find what works for you and you use that to push you through. Monitor your thoughts actively. That's important. That, I think, has been the best advice I've ever gotten in my entire life, and it applies everywhere from top to bottom, right? In your relationships, in business, right? When you have a deal that you're working on, if you're monitoring your thoughts, you're not getting too committed, right? You understand how to play it cool. So I think monitoring your thoughts, taking ownership, and also being aware that when you take accountability, it can be a depressing state. You got to be prepared for that. Because when you say it's my fault, and then you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I only gave 65%. That's why I'm where I'm at today. And if you're someone that can't overcome that, you'll get stuck right there. You won't get to the next step. So understand that accountability is not easy. It will be difficult. And it's not the full that you have to keep going, powering through that to figure out how to operationalize and get to where you want to be.
Right.
You know what's interesting about what you just said, Anthony, is that changed my perspective. Which, by the way, waking up, I posted this on Facebook the other day. This might be my next buy. It's a gun that shoots in your face to wake you up. So I put that on Facebook. I'm like, this might be my next purchase. Like, wake up, like shooting at me. But that's it. My biggest takeaway is, honestly, I need to do better, more self-talk. I have my ideas in my head. I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of things coming at me, but self-talk, like literally in the mirror, in the morning, like talking out loud. David, where are you at? What are you doing? What do you want to accomplish today? What are we trying to accomplish with this client, this situation, this business strategy, whatever it is, your family, your wife, your spirituality, whatever it is, talk to yourself and figure out what's going on to identify or diagnose, coming back to the doctor point, diagnose the problem. So you're not complaining just to complain, but complaining to yourself for the focus of finding a solution to the problem. And then with the solution, now you're like, hey, thanks, David. I just figured out the solution with your help, David. Now I can go do the thing. So self-talk, talk to yourself in the mirror, and have more one-to-one banter, I think is really going to help me personally be able to figure out what I need to do next in certain categories. Because I have a lot of ideas, a lot of solutions to the problems, but I don't know which one to execute most of the time. So I think talking it out loud with someone who knows better than me, which is probably me not judging, is a good thought. So thank you.
Gotcha. And just to read the comments, Jason's, what is it, Hagen? Said such a good conversation. Thank you, Jason. We appreciate it. Also, if you could hit that like button and follow us, I definitely appreciate that. But I appreciate all the comments.
Thanks, buddy.
As well. So with that being said, we're going to end it off from here. Let's go ahead with the outros. Richard, you want to tell them one more time where they can find you?
Yes, my passion right now is working to help as many businesses to get their share of the $800 billion in annual grant funding. You can get a free grant assessment at grantstream.ai, and my other personal brand website with the other services I provide, which include medical billing, health benefit expense reduction, business funding, and one of the best business loyalty customer information programs in the industry, which you can find at richardgeraldes.com.
Gotcha. All right, we definitely appreciate you stopping by, Richard. Anytime you want to come back on the panel, let us know. And we're going to go ahead and sign off for this week, and we'll see y'all next week. Appreciate it. Peace.
Okay. Bye then.
Take ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Get control of your ego. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Take ownership of your mistakes. Take ownership of your shortfalls. Take ownership of your problems. And then take ownership of the solutions that will get those problems solved. And when a team takes ownership of its problems, the problems get solved. And that is true on the battlefield, it is true in business, and it is true in life.